hello again, everybody, and welcome to Conversations with the Dean. I'm Turney Stevens, Dean of the College of Business at Lipscomb University, and I'm honored today to welcome my guest, Tony Giarratana. Tony, welcome to Lipscomb.
Thank you. Very nice to be here.
You're a great friend of Lipscomb's, and we appreciate you being here today. And you've got quite an interesting announcement to make today. Tony, of course, is the Principal Chief Executive Officer of Giarratana Development. You've done lots of projects in Nashville as well as other places. You're a real pro at urban design and urban development, and now you've got a brand new project. Tell us about this new project.
Well, thank you. It's a real pleasure to be here. I think very highly of Lipscomb University and enjoy being on the Board of Visitors of the Business School.
Thank you for that.
And we have been working the last 4 years, Turney, primarily on survival. The recession's been very hard on real estate developers, and over the past 4 years, we've been able to sell or otherwise liquidate about 14 properties that we had when the world stopped spinning in July of 2007. We have one more closing this year, and all of those legacy issues will be resolved. So we're just now at a point that we're able to think and talk about publicly things that we'd like to do in 2012 and beyond. One of those buildings is 505 CST. It's a project that we have been working on for well over a year with a rock star architect out of Chicago. And it is a building that can accommodate a major corporate headquarters in Nashville's Central Business District, something I think is very, very important, and I'm hopeful will be a priority of the local administration, the mayor, and the state administration and the governor's office. And this building will provide a tool to have conversations with these major corporate headquarters that may be looking to relocate to wonderful, high quality of life cities such as Nashville. And we can talk about that a little bit today if you'd like.
I'd love to. Let's look at the model first, because I think this is absolutely fascinating. This building will sit on property that you've controlled for some time at the corner of 5th Avenue North and Church Street.
Yes.
So it's called the 505 CST building, Church Street,
yes,
right?
Sir. Yes, sir.
And you mentioned that you had hired a rock star architect. I understand that the same firm has done famous buildings around the world, including the tallest building in the world.
Yes.
So tell us about the architect.
First, Adrian Smith and his partner Gordon Gill were formerly with Skidmore, Owens & Merrill, SOM. In that capacity over the last 40 years, they designed some of the buildings around the world that I admire the most. The Burj Dubai, the Burj Khalifa, that's a fun building, tallest building in the world, and they just competed against some of the top architects in the world to get the latest assignment, which will be a building 50 stories taller than that.
Really?
In Saudi Arabia, that's to be known as Kingdom Tower. But those aren't the buildings that drew me to Adrian Smith and Gordon Gill. If you go, we were talking about Kowloon Tower in China. That building is a magnificent building. It's one of the buildings that they did. Taipei 101, AT&T Corporate Center in Chicago. These are buildings that were just incredibly well done from a design perspective and quality perspective, and that's the type of building that would interest us on this particular site. This site was the former Kane Sloan department store. And so you talk to folks that have been around Nashville for a while, from 1957 to 1994 when we imploded the Kane Sloan department store. That was a very iconic corner. St. Cloud Corner on one side, Kane Sloan department store, downtown Presbyterian Church, and now what's known as the Fifth Third Tower there at the corner of 5th and Church. Very prominent corner. And so we've owned that building, that property since 1993, and are committed to do something special there. The property's held in trust, and if I die, I'll leave directions for my 15 and 13-year-old child. Please develop something special on this property. So we've shunned every opportunity to sell it at a profit. Instead, being committed to developing something special. So about a year ago, we were asked by a bank and a law firm to make a proposal to build a typical building in downtown Nashville. If you go back in history, back to the 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, it's typically buildings in Nashville have been driven by a bank at the bottom, a law firm at the top, and then speculative space in between. So we kind of half-heartedly put together a building, presented the building, again, very half-heartedly, and said, yes, listen, if these terms could be met, sure, we'll give this a go. But that's not the way we do our business. It's very passionate about, we're passionate about the things that we do. Well, it didn't come together quickly, so we withdrew. The proposal wasn't on the table for more than a month. And we withdrew and said, you know what, if we're going to do a corporate headquarters, let's do a corporate headquarters. Let's do a corporate headquarters that will draw one of the top companies in the world to downtown Nashville, Tennessee at this corner. So we picked up the phone and called Adrian. Never spoken to the man before, and told him that we really admire his work and that we're not Saudi princes. We don't have that kind of budget, but we have a fabulous site, the most prominent site in downtown Nashville. We'd like to do something very, very special. We'd like it to be the pinnacle of sustainability, no compromises, LEED Platinum, architecture 2030. Let's just do it right. And would you have an interest in this? And Adrian laughed. He said, you know, we do a lot of work all around the world. And one of the primary reasons that we do that is folks aren't doing anything really interesting in the States. We'd love to do your project. So a year later, this is it. It just got, we just got the project completed. It's very, very timely. And we're just yesterday briefed the mayor and the governor on it through a delivery of a package and a book on Adrian. We're very excited about it. So we're going to spend, immediately go out in 2012 and see if we can't land a corporate headquarters.
Now, this is a very unusual design. The twisting of the building is unique, certainly for Nashville, and does remind me of buildings that we've seen with our students when we've traveled in Shanghai and Hong Kong, Beijing. So tell us why the building is designed in this unique fashion. And I also understand that it's a multi-purpose building. It's not just an office building, it'll also be a hotel.
Yes.
Tell us about that.
Well, we spent 7 months with the Adrian Smith Gordon Gill firm. Didn't see a thing. They never showed us an image. They didn't ask us what kind of buildings we liked. They just studied and researched and evaluated everything about the site, the city, the foundation issues, the solar orientation, Metro DES, the district energy system, all of this research. And it really culminated in a meeting about 7 months into this process where Ted Cromer, my development director, and Phil Meadows, our chief financial officer, we all went to Chicago and we spent an entire day, 9 o'clock in the morning till 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and they said, well, thank you for coming. I think we've got all of our questions answered. I'm like, wait a minute. Are you not going to show us anything? And they said, Tony, our architecture is not arbitrary. It's driven by all of this research that we do. Now that we've completed this research, we're able to begin to shape this building. The bottom of the building has a hotel, a 5-star quality hotel. This is something that we felt was very, very important to the corporate headquarters of this building. Everything is geared towards the corporate user for this building. So we created a 5-star quality hotel with a world-class conference center. The conference center was driven by a couple of different factors. First, in the new life safety code, in the new building code, you cannot put conference centers on top of buildings anymore without doing extraordinary gymnastics with fire exiting through the building. This is the effect of 911 primarily, but lots of different fire and life safety issues. So the conference centers don't go on the top. Recently, Waller Lansden, Dorch and Davis renewed their lease in City Center. Great move, because they've got a great conference center. Well, that conference center couldn't be replicated without extraordinary costs through the building. So the conference center is at the bottom. It's associated with the hotel. It's a conference center that the corporate user could not possibly afford to buy that quality of conference center just to serve its needs. Likewise, the hotel, which would be they'll operate the conference center, would not be able to afford to build a conference center of that quality and that magnitude. So we've got this conference center that not only serves the corporate user above, it serves the hotel guest, it serves the community of Nashville in a very, very elegant way. So that's what's at the base of the building. Then we have 700,000 feet of Class A office space, broken into two zones, a mid-rise zone and a high-rise zone. So there could be one company take the whole space, or it could be two separate companies that would be accommodated very, very elegantly in the building. So with regard to the shaping of the building, the streets in Nashville, downtown Nashville, are not directly north and south and not directly east and west. The streets in Nashville are skewed, I'm assuming because of the river adjacency, so that when Adrian Smith Gordon Gill looked at this building, one of the things they wanted to incorporate was photovoltaic panels all across the roof of the building, all the way down the back of the building. So I'm not sure your viewers can see this, but the building twists so that the rear of the building, the southerly portion of the building, is oriented directly to the south to maximize the effectiveness of all these photovoltaic panels that come across the back. Likewise, the front of the building twists, but for a different reason. The front of the building twists so that as the westerly sun comes across the face of the building, the north face is turned so it never gets direct sunlight. That allows that 9'6" tall floor-to-ceiling glass to be clear and a very powerful element of the building with all that clear glass looking out towards the river down at the plaza there at 5th and Church. Very, very nice. And then there's a whole host of other sustainability features that are incorporated into the building.
So this building will actually generate electricity. Will
Yes.
it be self-sustaining in terms of the power used in the building?
The goal of Architecture 2030 is zero fossil fuel use by 2030. That's a lofty goal. There isn't anything in the state of Tennessee that is on path to that. This building would be the first major tower, first large LEED platinum building in the state that would be geared towards that ultimate level of sustainability. So the photovoltaic panels generate power that will go into the grid here in Nashville. We utilize the chilled water system for Metro DES. This is back, we used to burn trash to generate energy. Now we have this new district energy plant in the Sobro area. We will buy the chilled water at night when no one else is buying chilled water. So we'll buy our chilled water at night for pennies on the dollar, store it in these 100-foot storage tanks down in the parking levels of the building below grade, use it by day when everybody else is buying at peak energy periods, and then we'll return it and repurchase it the following night. And so that allows the district energy system to optimize itself, because it'd be a struggle to get this much chilled water into the central business district at peak times. So it maximizes the Metro DES. It allows us to provide cooling with this very sustainable central energy plant, but at an extraordinarily low price. I mean, probably 20 cents on the dollar that it would cost to buy that energy at peak times during the day. So these are, it isn't just the energy creation, there's cogeneration, there's capturing of rainwater to use as brown water for the flushing of toilets and irrigation. There are a whole host of features in the building, but they're all geared towards minimizing the impact on the environment and minimizing the expenses for operating the building. The curtain wall is the most elaborate piece of the building. The structure is very straightforward. Everything about the building is very state-of-the-art and very straightforward. It's the curtain wall, the glass, that is intended to create the most comfortable environment for the corporate user within the building. And there's a lot going on on the skin of the building.
And this will be, I think, 38 stories tall.
Yes, sir.
Do I remember that?
Yes,
so this would be the tallest building in downtown Nashville.
Yes, the tallest building from sidewalk to the top is the Bell South Tower, the AT&T Tower.
The one we call the Batman
The bat,
building.
yes,
The Batman
yes, sir.
building.
And from sidewalk to top of the pinnacle, it's 617 feet.
Let me come back to the business plan that you outlined in your opening remarks. So your intention is to make this building available to the corporate community across the country, around the world perhaps,
yes.
and to attract hopefully a major corporation to locate its world headquarters here in this building. That brings up the subject of corporate relocations, the future of downtown Nashville, the effort that both the city and the state are making to try to build downtown. We have a very different downtown today than we did 20 or maybe 30 years ago. And yet I know I've heard you make the comment that in some ways it's good, in some ways you're disappointed at what you see happening downtown. That comes as a bit of a surprise to me because there's a lot of construction underway. There's hundreds of millions of dollars being invested in downtown. Give me your view of not only downtown today, but where you think it's headed and what we should be done to build it into a major city center.
First, we need to start with a definition of downtown. To me, downtown is the central business district. If we were in a Batman movie, it'd be Gotham. Mm-hmm. The historic central business district where the tall buildings got developed and where the law firms and the banks and the accounting firms, the insurance firms, everybody needed to be, wanted to be because of the mixing and mingling that occurs. Very, very exciting to go to a dynamic 24-hour city like New York or San Francisco and to a lesser degree Chicago, but very, 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 very exciting. That's the central business district. That's downtown when you talk with me. The definition of downtown has gotten expanded. Where Sobro is downtown, I'm not arguing it, I'm just saying the definition has been expanded.
And that's south of Broadway.
The area south
viewers.
of Broadway.
Mm-hmm.
All the way up to the Howard School District is downtown. Across the river in East Nashville, that's downtown. Germantown to the north is downtown. The Gulch is downtown. It's all downtown. And I've heard folks talk about Music Row is downtown and parts of West End corridor are downtown. So when we talk about downtown, and to me, I need to clarify that what I'm talking about is that historic area in the commercial core that was basically between 1st and 8th and Commerce Street and let's say Union Street or Charlotte. That area is the area that has received little attention during the last couple of mayors' terms. This is not good, this is not bad. I'm not making a judgment call because I am very, very excited about what Mayor Carl Dean is doing with the Music City Center, Convention Center. That magnificent building could have been a box. It could have been a windowless box. It's not. They presented images of the building and I, like many others, thought, wow, that'd be nice, but is that really what we're going to get? And it is every bit what was presented in the images. It is magnificent. I've had the pleasure of touring it a number of times and standing in an 8-acre exhibit hall, 8 acres in size. That's pretty exciting. So that Music City Center is not just a beautiful building at just the right location. It has the means of providing an economic engine to our city and the region, but I'm very focused on our city. And it'll drive hospitality, retail, entertainment, and corporate headquarters relocations. The Country Music Hall of Fame, kudos to Mayor Dean for having the nerve to step up to make that a reality. That Country Music Hall of Fame is going from 150,000 feet to 350,000 square feet. That's significant. The Omni Headquarters Hotel, beautiful. All this is great. Previous administrations have done the Schermerhorn Symphony Hall, the Pinnacle Office Building, the Hilton Hotel, the Bridgestone Arena, the LP. These are all wonderful things. There is nobody walking the street that is more excited about those facilities than me. The Gulch, what Steve Turner and his son Jay and the Market Street Equities team, Joe Barker and the others, what they've done down there ought to be lauded by Nashvillians. I got here in '84 and I drove across Broadway and drove across Church Street looking down at this very unpleasant Gulch area thinking, gosh, I wish somebody would do something about that. I'm sure many other people said the same thing. It's not something that I wanted to do. It's not something I had the resources to do. But Steve had the vision for it, and he brought a team together that had the resources to make it happen. Thank goodness for our city that they're doing that, and it's magnificent. It's wonderful. So when I speak about being concerned about downtown, I'm talking about the Central Business District. And the Central Business District has all the bones. It has all the infrastructure, all the roads, all the beautiful sidewalks. It's time to bring people back into the city, bring a new corporate headquarters in the city. It may be healthcare, it may be technology, but bring those people onto the street, bring all those companies that will serve this corporate headquarters in to fill the B, the A, the B, and the C space that is vacant in Nashville Central Business District. Fill up all that retail with restaurants and entertainment venues that will be active not only by day and by night, like Puckett's down that we did in the St. Cloud Corner building downtown. But that's what I'm talking about, Turney, and it may be way beyond the scope of our conversation this morning. But the Central Business District is something that I've been very active in for over a quarter century. And there's very, very few others that have had that type of activity in downtown Nashville Central Business District other than myself. Matthews is that other company.
Now, you've been a leader in seeking to develop not only commercial property in the downtown area, but also residential living. I believe you were the developer of the Cumberland, and then just a few steps away from the Cumberland was the Viridian. Just a few years ago, you went across Broadway to the Sobro area and developed the Encore. All three of those were pioneering projects. I guess the first question would be, how are they doing? And the second question would be, to go back to your point about vibrant downtown living, one of the things that makes New York so vibrant, and even Chicago, is the fact that there are people there 24 hours a day, which means people live there.
Yes.
So what's it going to take to get people to live in downtown Nashville?
Yes. If I go back to '84, Nashville was an 8-hour day, 8-hour city, maybe a 10-hour city, but let's call it an 8-hour city. People came into downtown Nashville to work. At the end of the day, they got to their cars and they left. My background was office buildings, and at 6th and Church, we were going to develop a 250,000-foot office building when a criminal act occurred that was never prosecuted. It's called the '86 Tax Recovery Act. The '86 Tax Recovery Act retroactively changed the laws.
Absolutely.
It says if you've done all these things per these laws, then we're going to retroactively say you're a bad guy. And we're going to penalize you, and we're going to strip away all those things. Well, it collapsed. I mean, it eliminated the savings and loan industry. It harmed all the banks. It wiped out the real estate world. So I was sitting there with this site, and what could I do? I could park cars on it. So I parked cars, and that maybe was kind of the kernel of what later became our parking venture. But that was '89. In 1993, I went to former MDHA Director Gerald Nicely, and I said, Mr. Nicely, we've got this site. We'd very much like to develop it, and we're wondering if there's anything that we could do together as in a public-private partnership, because we will build for food. And Mr. Nicely said, then Mayor Bredesen wants residential. I said, okay, well, that's the one thing we don't do. So could we do a government office? Could we do theaters? Could we do retail? Could we do, something civic on this site? No, we want residential. and if you'll do residential, we want so many units, and we'll give you tax increment financing. And I'm sitting there with my lawyer, and I said, thought for a moment, I said, Mr. Nicely, thank you very much. We'll do this residential building. And we walked out, and my lawyer turned to me and said, well, that went well. I said, yeah, I think that went very well. And what's tax increment financing? And you know, at that time in '93, you couldn't get money with an assault rifle. I mean, no one was putting money in real estate. So tax increment financing, I'm in. And so we put together the Cumberland, made a lot of mistakes on the Cumberland. We only had a $35 million budget. It seems like a lot of money, but that's hard to do with 24 stories up and 6 levels down. But we built this building, and it opened, Turney, with not one resident. Nothing. What we hadn't factored in is that Nashville, that generation of Nashville in 1998 when the building opened, their primary question was, why would we live downtown? Mm-hmm. And if we did live downtown, where would we get our groceries? So it was very, very difficult process to rent that building up. We got it rented up, we sold it, and that TIF loan, we still own the TIF loan. So very, very difficult process. And that's this building. And we did not, I promised myself I would never do another residential building. It was such a hard building on me. But as one-year leases would roll over in this building, our residents would say, why don't you build something we can own? And I'd ask them, what is it that you'd like to own? How big is it? How's it finished? What are the amenities? And these 300 or 400 people told me they would like Veridian. Now, they didn't know what Veridian would look like or on the outside or where it would be, but they described Veridian. So we put together a plan to build this was the first high-rise apartments. We had to change the zoning code to allow it. This was the first high-rise condos. And about 80% of the Nashville market thought we were crazy. It was an out-of-the-park home run.
And it was on a site that was about that wide.
It was just right.
It was unbelievable. When you first announced that site, I had an office across the street, and I remember looking at that parking lot between those two narrow, the narrow opening between those two buildings, thinking, there's no way. There is absolutely no way you can build a building as tall as that with no more width, but you did it.
Well, when we started working on it, we were under the Southern Building Code, and the Southern Building Code and Life Safety Code dictated what the building could look like. By the time we got ready to start, we shifted to the International Building Code, which changed the way buildings relate to setbacks from side yards, and that allowed the building to be as beautiful as it is. I personally, I love all the buildings that we've worked on, but Veridian's my favorite. It is architecturally the tall, slender, more of a skyscraper-esque looking building than some of the other things that we've done. I think it's just a beautiful building, and when it was completed, it won every award that a residential tower can win. Project of the Year from Atlanta, Regional Council of ULI, which never even acknowledges that Nashville's over here. National awards for multifamily housing. So a lot of other folks do as well. But this building was an out-of-the-park home run. It exceeded all of our projections.
Now, Tony, this site where you've proposed the 505 building is the site where you formerly had proposed the Signature Tower.
Yes.
Which would have been, as I recall, 72 stories.
70.
70 stories.
72 sounds good, though.
Well, maybe 2 more wouldn't have mattered. At that height, who cares about 2 more? But it would have been the tallest building in the Southeast,
yes.
And it would have been primarily residential. And I remember that the news reports at the time indicated that you were holding millions of dollars worth of deposits on that building, and then you had the unfortunate circumstance of the economy collapsing. So tell us, how did you survive that? It must have been really tough, not only financially, but also emotionally.
I thought this was going to be a pleasant conversation.
Well, tell us what you learned about leadership from all of that.
Thank you. The Signature Tower was completely of our conceiving. The success of our previous ventures allowed me to have my own capital that I could use for developing my own buildings. So we had this site, we had a plan. that we put about, and we conceived a building that we thought was our opportunity to do something very, very special in Nashville, something way beyond what Nashville had ever seen before, way beyond anything the state of Tennessee had ever seen before, a building that would stand proud on Magnificent Mile in Chicago or Park Avenue in New York, a very, very special building. And because it was all our capital, we could do just what we wanted. So in 2005, December of 2005, we got it approved, and we started working on it. By 2006, we're done. We've got 100% drawings, we've got permits, we're ready to start building the building, and then we ran into the Federal Interstate Land Sales Full Disclosure Act, and it's really called that. And because we had more than 100 units, it would take more than 2 years to build, we had to comply. Well, our lawyers had a field day with it. It took a year to get HUD to issue us the approval letter. We got that approval letter in May, told our financial advisors at Jones Lang LaSalle we're ready to go, and in June, we were about ready to get this building off the ground. June of 2007, when, if you remember, the subprime mess was going on, the bloom was, beginning to fade on the residential housing market. The capital markets were in turmoil. Bad things were happening, and it scuttled our plans. We just couldn't get the project going.
Despite all the deposits that you
Oh yes,
built.
we had pre-sold well over $100 million, nearly $200 million worth of condominiums to people, very, very prominent people at the top, and just a lot of really neat people, doctors, lawyers, Indian chiefs in between. And when our financial advisor said we need more pre-sales, in the past, we did Encore with no pre-sales, and our goal was to pre-sale half. They said you need to move that pre-sale level up 2/3, maybe 75%. So we kept pre-selling units, but when it came time where we knew this was not going to work, we crafted a communication to our buyers and said, we're very sorry. I know you share our dream. Believe me, this is heartbreaking for us. We need to stop. And in stopping, in compliance with Tennessee Condominium Act, we are returning all of your deposits, 100% of your deposits, which we had been holding in escrow. We returned this money along with this communication via FedEx, and I really waited the next day for people to be just enraged that we were not going to be able to deliver this building. That's not at all what we got. We got phone calls, personal visits, tearful visits where people were saying, we were so excited about this building, we're so sorry for ourselves, we're so sorry for you, we're so sorry for our city. We got none of the antagonistic responses that we expected because we failed. And we failed our buyers. We got nothing but support. And everybody said, if you ever go to do something like this again, please call us. So we returned that money. With regard to the deposits, fast forward, I got invited to go meet with a group of Prussians. There's a community in Williamson County that do investing together. And I was at the dinner meeting, and they said, we want to invest with you. And I said, why do you want to invest with me? I mean, we don't know each other, do we? I said, oh yes, we bought, all of us had bought units at Signature Tower. Well, I had dealt with agents and, occasionally with, one of the family members, but I really didn't create a relationship. And I said, oh, okay, I'm remembering this now. And I said, you returned several $1 million worth of deposits to our family members. And I said, but I'm required to do that. I mean, it's not my money. And they said, well, that may be true, but that's not the way we've been treated in the past. So Signature Tower ended well for everyone with the exception of me. We lost 8 figures. Not happy about that, but I'm so glad it was us losing the money instead of some third-party investor. We did exactly what we wanted to do. It was, all the indications were that it was the right thing to do. It would have been a great success. Maybe I should have reached out for some more help from the state or the city. Didn't do that. It's very disappointing, but it is what it is. That market, those dynamics of capital, politics, the market may not return for 10 or 20 years. And so we can sit on the site and park cars, which is good. It was our first parking lot in the new company, or we could come up with a new plan. Our choice was to come up with a new plan, and that's what we're looking at here today.
Hey, Tony, I know you're a man of faith. You're a Christian. And so I have to believe that you believe in providence. Do you feel like that you've seen the hand of God in your life as these last few years have unfolded?
You know, Turney, it's interesting that you say that because we had a desire with this site to do something special that would glorify God. Well, how do you do that? Mm-hmm. You build a big cross on this site? No, I mean that's not something that we would do. But we've had many people come to us, that some that we know, some that we never saw before or never saw since, and said that they feel that this site between Church Street and Commerce Street is something that this is a linkage between the marketplace and the church that we need to capitalize on. We need to do something special here. We wanted to do all those things. But when the market collapsed and the building, which was very magnificent, when it failed, I thought I was being punished. And I could think of a long list of things I would be getting punished for. So I would be deserving of that. And so I felt that way for years until Ted and I were walking down Church Street one day, walking by the site in January of 2010, and he said, well, this would be the month. And I said, what do you mean, Ted, this would be the month? He goes, well, this was the month we were going to deliver the completed signature tower. And I just took my breath away because had the building gotten developed, it would have delivered right into the teeth of the recession. Those high-end condominium units, while they were worth every bit of what we were selling them for, would not have been marketable in that environment. Mm-hmm. End loans wouldn't have been available. People's perspectives on high-rise condos and home ownership would have been very negative. We would have lost the building. Instead, we had the site. And the site generates hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of parking revenue. It's a great parking lot. One of the best parking lots in downtown Nashville. So those years of feeling, well, I was being punished, turned into thankfulness, gratefulness. Thank you, God, for not letting that building get built. All these years been hard to understand it was a blessing, but I now see it as such, and we're able to start anew. And so we feel very good about that.
Tony, it's been great to have you with us today. What a great story, and congratulations on this proposed new building. Obviously, we wish you the best of luck in attracting a world-class company to locate its headquarters in downtown Nashville. I look forward to seeing a sign somewhere on the top with a global corporation's name on it.
That'd be great.
And I hope that comes to pass. I have faith and confidence that it will. Thanks for your friendship with Lipscomb.
Great, thank you.
We appreciate you being here.
Thanks for having me on the show.
Our guest today has been Tony Giarratana, who is the President and Chief Executive Officer of Giarratana Development. Thanks for being with us. We'll look forward to seeing you again soon as we present Conversations with the Dean.